Hello everyone, welcome to At America TV. My name is James, one of the e-guides here at America. We welcome our audience members joining us online. We hope that you're doing well and staying safe. At America is the United States Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. In this episode, we'll be having building strong CVs, resumes, and letters of recommendations for U.S. graduate school applications. But before we begin, let's break the ice with a little game. I have here a question for all our audience members. That question is true or false? A Stanford student has won a medal at every Olympics since 1908. Stay tuned until the end of this program because we'll be giving a live shout out to whoever can answer correctly on our social medias. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag at America's Instagram account. Now, without further ado, let me introduce everyone to today's moderator, Kak Vina Alatas, at America's very own Education USA advisor. Kak Vina, the stage is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, James. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Vina. I'm one of the advisors for Education USA based in Ad America. If this is not your first time, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining in again. If this is your first time, welcome. And I would also like to say hi to everyone who is watching this session right now on so many different platforms of Ad America. Because of course, we are not only here in Zoom, but we are also on, Facebook, Twitter, via Periscope. We are also on YouTube. We are live on Instagram. We are also on Ad America's website if you want to watch it there. And of course, we are here in Zoom. I'm looking at the participants here, and I think more people are going to come in. So if you are in Zoom or wherever you guys are watching this from, feel free to stay there. If you have any questions, please keep them coming even when I'm giving the presentation. It's more fun actually if you are here in Zoom because I am with Santika, one of my colleagues with Education USA here in Ad America, who will basically going to interact with you in the chat room here in Zoom. All right, if you want to join us in Zoom and you are not in Zoom yet, you can register for the event via Zoom from our website, in Ad America's website. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about everything about resume, CV, as well as letters of recommendation. So this event is really good if you guys are here planning to study master's degree or PhD in the United States. All right. And like usual, if this is your first time, I'm going to give a short presentation about 5 to 10 minutes about what Education USA is, just in case this is your first time watching this session and you're wondering who we are. Okay, so what is Education USA? So we are part of the U.S. Department of State Network, or here in Indonesia, we call it Kementerian Luar Negerinya Amerika Serikat. All right, we have over 400 international student advising centers like Ad America in more than 170 countries. So as you can see, we are basically all over the world. What we do here with Education USA to you guys is we assist everyone who wants to study in the US higher education. So we're talking bachelor's degree, master's degree, or PhD, or we call it S1, S2, or S3. And the good news is that all of our services are free of charge. It sounds too good to be true, but I guarantee you it's true. It's free. We are here to basically help you to be in the US and study there. Okay. In Education USA Indonesia, of course, not only in Ad America, but we have 8 centers with a total of 10 advisors. So I'm going to break through each of the centers, right? So we have 2 in Jakarta, 1 at the US Embassy. If you're familiar or if you've been there before, you probably have met David or Iqbal. And of course, the other one is in Ad America, where I'm currently at. Well, I mean, I'm at home right now, but Ad America is like where I'm working with Santika in Pacific Place. And then we also have 2 in Surabaya, 1 at the U.S. Consulate General with Husky, and 1 at one of the universities there, Unair, with Amber. We also have 1 in Medan at the U.S. Consulate there with Jeffrey, 1 in Malang at Universitas Muhammadiyah with Zaki, 1 in Makassar at Universitas Fajar with Cendani, and last but not least, we have 1 in Banda Aceh at UIN Araniri with Lilis. So if there is no Education USA Center where you live, don't worry. Basically, again, we cover the whole country. So you can reach out us to the nearest center, or now that you are here with us with Add America, you can definitely reach out to me or Santika. So what are our services? So we provide you with 5 steps. So we start with step 1, which is researcher options. So let's say you're thinking about studying in the US, but you don't know where to start. Definitely have a chat with one of us. We are going to go through some of your options as an international student to study in the US. All right. And then once you're pretty much good to go, you're pretty much convinced that you're going to study in the US, we can move on to step 2, which is finance your study. Because it's equally important, right? We are going to talk for some of the funding options for us international students. And then once we are good on step 2, we can move on to step 3, which is completing your application. A lot of things going on here because we are definitely going more technical. So for example, like the event tonight, it is actually part of step 3. But not only I'm giving the presentation, but when we are doing the one-on-one advising session, one of us, Santika or I, you can definitely take a look at your resume or CV, not letters of recommendation, and I will tell you why. Basically, once you are done with your application, you have your essay, you have everything, your transcript, you did your English standardized test and your, the GRE or GMAT, submit everything, and then you're going to wait from to hear from the universities, right? And then once you get accepted, the next step, of course, you're going to apply for your student visa. So here in Education USA, we are also guide you on student visa. So we're going to give you the step-by-step on what you need to do as an international student to apply for a visa, all right? And then once, you got your visa, you are about to depart to the United States. And then we can move on to last step, which is prepare for your departure. So we're not stopping only in student visa, but with PDO or pre-departure orientation, we have our annual events, usually in Add America, where we are, we're giving all the informations to all of the international students who are about to depart to the US. And we are giving them information like, starting from, how to maintain your student visa when you are there, how to open a bank account, how to find housing, what is the classroom experience looks like. So it's a lot of information and it's so much fun. And of course, everything with Add America is always open for public. So even though you are not deported to the US, but you want to join this event, you are more than welcome to join. All right. Hopefully that this year Add America will open for public so that we can have the video in person in Add America Center. But if not, we'll see what happens. Okay. So again, meet with the advisors here in Education USA Add America. Again, my name is Fina, guys. Nice to meet you. And I have Santika somewhere in Zoom interacting with you guys in the chat. If you want to email directly to us, I'm leaving our emails here. Since the pandemic, we have been doing the advising now fully digital. So we are doing the advising via Zoom. Our advising hours are pretty similar to when we were before the pandemic, meaning that we are basically available every day from 1 until 9 p.m. Okay, and I leave you the Zoom link ID here. And then Santika can also copy paste the link for easier access next time. Obviously, there is no advising sessions tonight because Santika and I are here, but we can definitely give it a try another day. Okay, our advising system is first come, first serve basis, pretty similar again to when we were in Add America, meaning that you don't have to make any appointment to us. So you don't have to, hey, Fina, can I see you on Friday at 7, right? So technically, if there is no one in the room at 7, you can definitely come in and then we can definitely do the one-on-one session, right? But if let's say at 7, I'm currently already on a session, I will leave you a chat message basically telling you that, feel free to wait, I'm currently on a session, okay? Or if you don't feel like you want to just jump into Zoom and meet with Santika or myself, you can definitely email us first to our email center at jakarta.atamerica@educationusa .org. You can definitely, some people started to email us, more and more people email us to this email center, basically, introduce themselves, and, probably they have like a couple of questions. Although normally we encourage everyone to, join via Zoom, so we can basically I can easily answer your questions. Okay. So tomorrow, you definitely do not want to miss this event. So this week is pretty crowded for Education USA because we have 3 events in a row, starting today with fully presentation, which are really going to be very informative. But tomorrow and Saturday, it's fully discussion, and it's going to be very informative as well, and so much fun. So tomorrow we are going to have a chat with one of my best advisee, Tiara, who got accepted to Harvard for fall this year, and we are going to hear from her basically the journey from the beginning until now she gets accepted. And then she just also recently secured the LPDP scholarship. So we're going to hear a lot about her journey. And even though you are not applying to public policy or MPA programs, but you want to hear kind of, the journey for international students in applying to highly selective universities such as Harvard, this event is definitely for you, okay? Because we are going to try to cover as general as possible with, various topics. So it's going to be tomorrow, same time, 6:30. So you don't want to miss this, okay? On Saturday, we're gonna do on a Saturday morning because Tita here is in the U.S. So he's currently living in California. In fact, he works there. He's an alumni from Stanford University, another amazing university. So if you also want to hear from him, basically his journey is interesting because he tried so many different scholarship and he failed, but it didn't stop him from trying until to the point where Stanford willing to cover for his tuition, full covered by Stanford. So this is to basically encourage everyone that, yeah, I mean, if you failed the first time, please don't stop there because there's so many ways for you to basically study in the US. And Tita has that story to tell us. Okay, so it's going to be on Saturday morning. It's going to be so much fun, I think, too. And it's going to be it will start from 11 until 12:30. Okay. Next week, this is also part of our monthly events like tonight. So tonight we're talking about resume, CVs, and letters of recommendation. Next week, we are talking about everything that you need to know about statement of purpose or personal essay. This is really, really important. Normally, if you are new with Education USA and you want to use our very popular service that is reviewing your essay, and you have not watched this session, Santika and I are most likely will tell you, please watch the session first before having the one-on-one session, because it's really important for you to understand like the whole concept of statement of purpose, how it is really different than other countries, or come to see us, right? So it's going to be basically same day, same time on Thursday at 6:30. You don't want to miss this. And then that Saturday, that week, another amazing discussion session. So this time is also one of my advisees, but Tiara will start her study this year, this coming fall. Hans, what do we call him? Just recently got to New York. So he already started his study this January for his MBA. And so I talked to him a couple of days ago, and it's like I wanted to ask a lot of questions. So I was thinking, you know what? I'm just gonna have him through this event so that not only I can ask him questions through WhatsApp, but I want everyone to also hear his story. Pretty similar, like his journey from the beginning. By the way, Hans failed to get accepted last year, but then similar to it did stop him applying. So he applied again to a number of universities this year, and it paid off. he got accepted to MBA Columbia program. So it's really amazing. We're going to hear from him. So you don't want to also miss this. All right. And I believe this is the last event of January. We are cooking for another amazing stories in February. But I encourage everyone, if you have not registered for, you can definitely now go to Adamerica's website to register via Zoom. And the nice thing about registering in advance is because I think a day or two before the events, Zoom will give you a reminder email. So it's really nice. I love it. Okay, so now let's talk about building strong CVs and resumes and letters of recommendation. This will be a somewhat straightforward presentation. I think I will probably talk about an hour. I know it's like long, but I promise you all the information that I will share with you is going to be very informative. Please take notes whenever you need it. We are not able to share this presentation slides because sometimes people ask us, can you share the slides? And we are not able to do that. So please take notes, or you can definitely rewatch the session again from YouTube. And during my presentation, if you have some questions, you can definitely ask that, especially for you guys here in Zoom, because Santika might able to answer some of these questions right away, okay, before I'm jumping into the Q&A by the time I'm done with this presentation. All right, so let's dive in. I always start my presentation with this one slide, just to make sure that everyone gets all the requirements when you want to study in the US. It seems like it's a lot. I don't know about like other countries, but probably the US has the most. But usually, the general requirements that they ask is, the TOEFL or IELTS, the college transcript, CV or resume, letters of recommendation. So number 3 and number 4 are basically the one that we're going to talk about tonight. The GRE or GMAT, and statement of purpose or personal essay. I don't put this list on a specific order, so it doesn't mean that I put statement of purpose as number 6 is the least important, because I'm telling you guys right now, there are a lot of people out there that put statement of purpose as the last step for their application. I'm going to talk more about this if you have some time during the Q&A, because I can't stress this enough. Essay is really important, and I can't wait actually for next week to talk about it. But okay, let me just focus on the topics tonight, which is the CV and resume letters of recommendation. Okay, let's take a look at CV and resume. Okay, what are they? What's the difference? Let's start with CV. CV is more like more common here in Indonesia, I would say. I think everyone is saying, this is my CV, this is my CV, this is my CV. So I think it's the more general term. But let's take a look at it. It's curriculum vitae. It means course of life in Latin, right? So you already have CV, but you don't really know exactly, the meaning behind CV. And then I'm going to talk about like how CV is being used in the US, all right? So it means course of life in Latin. So just like the name of it, course of life, the way I look at it, it means that you are going to put everything, your course of life, into your CV, right? Starting after your high school. So you don't want to put your junior high, your high school, even your elementary school in your CV, especially assuming that you guys are here, are applying for master's or PhD. So your CV will start right after high school, so starting in college, okay? So with CV, it has over 2 or more pages. So it doesn't really specify how many pages total, meaning that you can basically have as many pages as you want. Normally, people have 3 to 5 pages, okay? So with CV, it's basically a high level of detail about everything, your achievement, your research experience. It covers education. If you have some publications, if you have won some awards, including if you have won scholarship awards, you definitely want to put it in the CV. Any presentations that you've done in the past, any honors. So everything you definitely want to put in CV, okay? So with CV, it's static. It doesn't change for different position, meaning you keep adding new information to CV. You don't change what you have written in the past in your CV, but you keep adding new things as time goes on. All right? That's basically the one slide about CV. Very straightforward, right? Now let's take a look at resume. I feel like the term resume is not being used here in Indonesia. I don't know, maybe in the world, except the United States. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I just feel like in Indonesia, at least, resume is not like a really common term. But when you're applying to US universities, you are going to definitely see a lot of this term, resume or CV, resume or CV. So what is resume? So resume, it means summary in French. I don't know what is resume, the word for resume in Latin, but I don't know why they make it in French and CV is in Latin. But so yeah, so resume, it means summary in French. So the way you look at resume is basically the summary of your CV, because CV is, remember, CV is your basically course of life. So everything you're going to put in the CV, and resume is kind of like the summary of it. Summary of what? I'm going to talk about. I'm going to tell you in a minute. So basically, it's a concise document, typically not longer than 1 page. This is like what makes the very significant differences between resume and CV. Remember, resume, because it's summary, 1 page. A maximum of 2 pages, but if you can definitely make it to 1 page, it will be really ideal. With CV, basically, you can have as many as you want, right? So resume is basically a summary of your experience, of your education and skills. So basically a summary from your CV. Um, uh, Look at the very last bulleted statement here. So basically you're taking all the information that, depending on what do you want to use your resume for, and you take it from CV and put it in the resume, okay? Every time you see, I don't know, the universities, or maybe if you're applying for a job later on when you graduate and you're applying for a job in the US, and then the company is basically asking for a resume, every time you see this term, it means that the intended reader, whoever they do not want to spend too long reviewing your information that is in the resume, or on your, basically your information about yourself, right? They don't want to spend too long understanding understanding you, okay? And the goal here is to make an individual stand out from the competition. And because resume is, only in 1 page, they just want to really look at really quickly. And so we want to put like the very, the very part of you that you really want to show off in the resume. Like how with CV, you basically put everything in there. Resume is basically just part that you really want to show off, okay? So the three major differences from those two slides that I just showed you, there are three major differences between CV and resume, right? So it's the length, it's the purpose, and it's the layout. And what about them? So CV, the length is long because it's course of life, and resume, it's short because it's basically just the summary, right? The purpose of CV, it covers everything, right? Whereas with resume, it's adapt to the purpose. So if you want to apply for chemical engineering, for example, in the US, so you want to put all that is related to chemical engineering in your resume, okay? How about the layout? The layout with CV, it's static. You don't change anything that you have put in there previously, but you keep adding things as time goes on, right? Whereas with resume, it's highly customizable. So maybe you are applying for chemical engineering, or maybe you're applying for law, let's say, right, for LLM program this year. And then you go to the US at the end of this year, and then you graduate within 9 months, and then you're going to work, right? And then when you work, probably you want to modify your resume a little bit to the company, right? So it's very highly customizable with resume. Whereas if the company asks for a CV, basically you're going to use the same CV as like when you were applying to the university this year. I hope you get what I'm saying, okay? So let's take a look at what they really look like. And this is a really important part because our CV here in Indonesia, we use the CV layout that's being used by all other countries except the US. And since we are going to have resume or CV for US universities, we need you to modify your CV or your resume to the US layout. to the US standard. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. It's pretty small. I don't know. Hopefully that you guys who are watching this from different platform can also see this. But if you can't see it, I just basically just wanted to kind of show you kind of like the layout of of these two documents, right? The left side is resume, the right side is CV. It doesn't say so, but it's really quick for me to know that the left side is resume and the right side is the CV, because how on the left side, which is the resume, how the person is actually tried to make everything, the information packed in one or two lines, whereas on the right side with CV, because the person basically doesn't care about how many pages that he will end up, he basically put the, like the address on like each line, end up with like two lines, and then the emails on a different line, phone number on a different line, and then the website on a different line, right? So, but let's put it on top. It's always contact information. Here, I don't really see how it's different than our CV here in Indonesia. In terms of paper, please stick to white or light cream or gray paper. I've seen a lot of other CVs, and I understand that you're trying to, be creative and be, like looks um, colorful. So with, like colorful color background. But please, for this one, for this purpose, stick to just the white, light cream, or gray paper. Okay, we don't have problem with US letter because we are using alphabet here in Indonesia. And also please stick to size 12 for the font. If you really need to make it compact or make it everything packed in one page, it's okay if you need to use 11 fonts, but that's it, 11 or 12, but not 10, obviously. Okay, so this is just like the first part of the resume or CV, and then this is basically the rest. So the left side again is a resume, right? And then basically there is no rule on what kind of category that you want to put first in your resume or CV, but definitely your contact on top, followed by education. I've seen some CV or resume in the past where after contact, you start with working experience and then you put education somewhere in the bottom. We don't want that because clearly we're going to use this to apply for US universities. So for education purpose. So, the universities the admissions committee, they definitely want to see which degree that you graduate from and what program, right? And also, including the university that you graduated from. And then followed by working experience. And then after working experience, you can basically have whatever category that you want to have in there, right? So let's see here, and the person here on the left, but like a lot of like research project, and then some kind of activities. Looks like this is the activities when this person is still in college, because he mentioned study abroad, Michigan House of Representative. I'm assuming this is the well, no, I don't think this is like in the university, but again, like there is no specific rules again on the category that you want to put there. But you definitely want to be mindful in terms of the information that you're going to put in the resume, because we have to remember that we want to aim for no more than one page. Okay, so definitely after each category, you want to give some explanations. And if you can make it into one line for each bulleted statements, that would be great, probably two max. But here on the right side, again, because there is no page limit whatsoever, you can have as many information as possible, and you can be as detailed as possible. Okay. So this is just kind of like what the one page of resume looks like. I'm not expecting you to actually read what it says. I just want to give you kind of like the look of it. And probably this is not the same as what you currently have. And yeah, I want you to have this kind of layout because this is like what has been used in the US, and this is the common one. Does this look boring to you? because when I first look at it, it looks boring to me. But I definitely understand why the US resume and CV looks like this, because now I understand, again, with resume, remember that every time, like you are being asked to submit a resume, the intended reader doesn't want to dwell too long, doesn't want to read too long on your resume. And having this kind of like, layout and structure, it's just very easy for me to get all the informations that I need. Name on top, education, all the timeline on the right side, all the information like the categories on, put it in bold, and then followed by sub points or maybe sub points, and then followed with bulleted statement. So I can just read everything really quickly here. And probably you have the kind of CV where you have like 2 rows, and then you have like all the information on left side, and then another information on the right side, and then it's just confusing when I read it. So please, if you currently have that kind of CV or resume, we want to change it to the US standard. Okay. And this is also what CV looks like. Probably not so much of a difference here with our CV here in Indonesia. Or maybe I may be wrong, because I'm going to show you what our CV most um, likely to look like. But this is definitely pretty similar to resume. But again, like the timelines on the right side, and then all the categories on the right sides, and so on. Okay. And this is like on the second page, so many categories that this person puts, like publication, additional training, research grants, professional experience. So you can definitely go as long as necessary. Okay. Now, this is the fun part. How is it different in Indonesia? How is it different with probably your current CV? So probably you have, maybe not exactly like this, but quite like this. Some picture maybe on your CV. And then I want to pay attention on the very top part, the personal data part, and then the picture, because those are the two things that we don't put in our CV if you want to use it in the US. Okay, so personal data like nationality or sex or marital status, date of birth, place of birth. I know it's probably for some of you it's shocking, because hearing this, really, we're not putting any of this personal data. And the answer is yeah, we don't put this information because, well, technically, if I can be blunt, they don't care. They don't care what your nationality is. They don't care what your sex is. They don't care if you're married or single. They don't care about, like when, your date of birth or where. Because also in the US, they kind of see that as some kind of form of discrimination in a way. And on top of that, they don't care, and they shouldn't care what you look like. That's why we don't put the picture on resume or CV. And yeah, so how is it different in Indonesia? To continue on that slide, no picture. So if you have your picture with you on your CV, take it out. No religion, because they can't ask that kind of questions, because in the US it's considered private. No marital status, and basically no other unnecessary information. Okay. And I would like to kind of give you a little bit of background on why that is the case. And I found this really interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the history of it. It's called Title VII of the Civil Rights Act back in 1964 that says, hear me out, a federal law that prohibits employers from discriminating against employees on the basis of sex, race, color, national origin, and religion. And these are basically the information that we have here in Indonesia. And in the US, they have this Title VII that says otherwise, that like employers are not allowed to judge, like applicants based on this. The good news about this Title VII is that it also applies to private and public colleges and universities. So that's why I put this up, so that now you know. why we don't put those stuff in your in the resume or CV. Okay, and you can brag about this to your friends. So now let's kind of like talk a little bit about like the technical aspect of why about CV and resume in grad schools in the US. So CVs are basically used by individuals seeking fellowship grants, basically, like master's degree or PhD. It really depends from the program of that university, because the universities in the US, especially for the master's and PhD program, is very decentralized, meaning that under the umbrella of one university, right? They have Department of Law, they have Department of Business, School of Business, and then Department of Law probably asks for resume only, not CV, but Department of Business asks probably either CV or resume. So these two departments, they are not colliding. They can make whatever regulations or requirements that they want. Okay, but if you want to apply for PhD, I rarely hear that they are asking for a resume, but I definitely have an advisee in the past applying for PhD, and the program actually asked for a resume, but it's very, very rare. Normally it's CV, but for masters, it can be either one of those. Okay. Graduate schools application, again, like what I just said, basically, typically request a CV, but in general are looking for a resume that includes any publication and description of research projects. So kind of like similar to CV, but like in a resume form. Okay. So let's see. So resume and CV, you definitely do not want to underestimate any of the documents that they required, including resume and CV, because in the US, the way they review your application is holistically. Holistically means that they are going to take a look at every documents that you sent, that you submit, including resume and CV, of course. Okay. And again, remember, if they're asking for a resume, you want to adapt the content of the resume to every position or purpose or program that you are going to apply for. Okay. And definitely review the application requirements for the department, because again, like I said, probably you're applying for one program to 5 different universities, and then that each of the university might ask you different things. One probably will say, submit either resume or CV. The other one specifically asks for a CV, and then maybe there are some universities that very specific, asking, please submit a CV of no more than 3 pages. So you have to really pay attention to this. Okay. That's it basically about resume and CV, and that's why I merge the letters of recommendation into this event, because again, it's very straightforward with resume and CV, and I look forward to talk about resume and CV during the Q&A. Okay, now let's talk about letters of recommendation. So what is letters of recommendation? So it's a detailed discussion from the referees or the recommenders, basically talking about your accomplishment, giving you positive feedback, basically endorsing you or vouch for you, telling the admissions committee that you are basically the right candidate to be in their program. Okay. And in US universities, they are normally asking for either asking the recommenders to come from either academic, which is the faculty members, or professionals. It's easier for professionals because it can be from a lot of different people in a company. So it can be your administrators, or direct supervisors, or maybe your boss or your boss's bosses, right? But remember, the best recommenders or the best letter writers are those that know you well. And I want to stress this more often tonight, because I see that it's not really the case here in Indonesia, because here in Indonesia, we tend to care more about the person who writes the letter. Like we are more concerned about if that person is popular, if that person is a public figure and stuff like that. But I want to tell you right now that the best recommenders are those who know you well. Okay. So how important are letters of recommendation? Like I said earlier, because the university will review your application holistically, you definitely do not want to underestimate this letter. Although this letter is not going to be written by you, but this is definitely something that you want to really pay attention to whom who are going to write these letters. Okay, so basic letters of recommendation is required for almost every graduate school application. I've never heard universities that did not ask for letters of recommendation. So, and yeah, let's see here. Your transcript, your standardized test score, and your essay may factor in most heavily as part of your documents. Although, again, like I said earlier, it's holistically, but basically, but letters of recommendation could be the deciding factor in the admissions process. So remember, holistic means that um, they review everything, right? So that means for us as the applicant is we want to balance everything, right? We want to balance all the documents that we submit to the university. So if you have an okay GPA, not like really stellar or anything like that, or maybe your standardized test score, like your GRE or GMAT, is just an okay score, but then you have like such a strong letters of recommendation, it will balance. It will balance the okay score. Okay, so you again, you do not want to underestimate the importance of these letters. So an excellent recommendation letter from excellent recommenders can make up for weakness in any of the application documents. Exactly what I just said. It also it means holistic. Okay. It can vary on how many letters that the universities will ask. It can be three, but normally it's two. All right. And then again, the universities might ask you, might specify the kind of recommenders that they are expecting. So some university may say one recommender from academic, one recommender from professional, the other one probably optional, or maybe there's another university that is basically are saying that submit two letters of recommendation, and then they don't specify the recommenders. So you can basically choose either you want to have from academic or for professionals. So if that being the case, it's easier on our end because you can skip the academic if you want. So maybe you graduated like a long time ago and it's very hard to contact the professor. So it's easier for you to just find two recommenders from professional world. Okay. So again, you definitely want to check each of the university. Um, Another thing that I don't know if people are aware about this, but if the university asks for two letters of recommendation, you need to make sure that each recommender will say something different. Okay, I think this is like a really important information because probably some of us might think that, maybe you're thinking right now that your best skill is, I don't know, leadership. And so you are telling your two recommenders, talk about me, about, how I'm having good leadership skill. But we don't want that. Okay, we want you to, these recommenders to basically mention two different things. The good thing about that is you can basically be upfront and talk to the recommenders about what you want them to say. If they are maybe kind of, well, no, I'm not really sure what you want me to say, then you can basically tell them, how about this, right? But then there are also some recommenders who are probably just very happy to say whatever they believe about you, and just make sure that it's going to be positive, right? Another, the last point here is also important because how we love to do everything last minute, aka procrastinating with things, right? You definitely do not want to mess with this one. An essay. Okay, I keep coming back to essay. You don't want to underestimate these two letters and doing it like very close to the deadline. Okay, especially with letters of recommendation because you're asking someone else's help, right? I can totally imagine, like, I wouldn't respect anyone who basically ask me to write them a letter of recommendation and then they are rushing me, right? Rushing me for me is months. Like if you're saying that, or maybe not, a month is kind of like harsh. Maybe like 2 weeks, let's say. So maybe someone comes to me, right? And then, hey, Fina, you know me, and I think you are going to be a really great recommender. Would you write one for me? And then of course I will ask, right? Like when's the deadline? And then if you say it's going to be 2 weeks from now, it's rushing me. And I don't appreciate that. And we can definitely assume that the recommenders out there wouldn't appreciate that either, right? So make sure you give your recommenders plenty of lead time and without bothering their time. They're already busy time. Okay. You will most likely, will remind them once in a while, but if you ask them like way ahead, the number of times for you to remind them wouldn't be like annoying. Do you know what I mean? But if it's like in 2 weeks, can you imagine? Like probably you're going to remind me like 3 times in that 1 week, and that's annoying. Okay, and we want to avoid that. Okay. So this is I'm going to go real quick about this one. I just need to share it with you guys because most likely when you're in the online portal of the universities, when like uploading, submit everything, you're going to see this when you submit your on the letters of recommendation section, this one thing called verpa. They're basically going to ask if you want to waive your right to review your recommendation letter. There is no wrong or right answer, but the easiest one to understand this, just say yes. Okay, it just means that if you say yes, it means that you don't have the right to see what is in the recommendation letter until you get accepted. I know it sounds weird because like no, usually people when they get accepted, they probably won't care what is in the recommendation letter because like what they care is they already get accepted. But the reasons why the US has this is because in the US, letters of recommendation is considered confidential, meaning that you are not supposed to know what is in it. Okay. So yeah, if you click yes, Verpa lets you request access to your recommendation letters after getting in and enrolling in a school. So the easiest one is just to say yes. So who should write the letters of recommendation? So let's talk about the characteristic of the recommenders, right? Number one, it has to be someone, again, like what I said earlier, someone who knows you very well, know your work, know you long enough to write with authority, especially someone who is like literally willing to write a letter for you. Maybe not really the case here in Indonesia because they might be busy and then they don't have the time to write it or they are lazy to write one for you. But if you can find someone who basically, when you ask, they are very excited to write one, then that's going to be your recommender. Okay. Describe your work positively. I just need to, like it's very obvious, but it's nice to put it out here. Have a high opinion of you, know where you are applying, basically someone who knows you, right? And know your educational and career goals. And I know number 9 is actually not really my favorite. Be well known. Probably that's why it's like on number 9 because it's not like the top priority. The thing is why I'm not a big fan of it, and I want to specify this because I think here in Indonesia, when it comes to letters of recommendation, number 9 becomes number 1. So it seems like the recommender, their position, it has to be like as high as possible. So yeah, like I said, it's like it seems like number 9 is number 1, but in this case, no, it's not like the top priority. Okay. So you definitely want to provide all necessary information. That's kind of like the like the summary of before you come to the recommender and ask for their favor. Because again, like the referees may not remember everything about you. Okay, that person might be excited in writing one for you, but it will help them so much if you can provide all the necessary information. So what can you provide to the recommenders or to the referees? Maybe not like all of like this 11 documents like at one sitting when you see the person, but some of them would be fine. Maybe you want to share your transcript if the recommenders is someone from the academic, to just kind of like refresh their mind when you're taking his or her classes or something like that. But resume is my favorite because again, basically everything is in there. Your current work, where did you graduate, like which program and everything. Essays are the top two that I love as well. So this is really nice actually if you already have your draft, and then you can share it with them so that they know what is it that you want to do in the future, right? And then maybe you probably like, wait, what? You talk about what you want to do in the future in your essay, and I'm giving you a teaser. The answer is yes, and I'm going to talk about it next week on the statement of purpose event. Okay. Admission essay is basically not talking about you. This is another teaser. So hopefully you are curious enough to join the event next week. But then again, if the recommender is someone from the academic background, you want to tell them about the courses that you've taken with them, or if it's like from professional, like your direct supervisor or your boss, maybe talk about like your research experience and all that, right? The work experience, basically all this information that you can find in the resume or CV. Okay. Now the fun part, the part where it's always happened here in Indonesia. Fina, the recommender or the recommenders ask me to write it for them. I can do that, right? Or there are actually a lot of people, hey, Fina, can you read my letters of recommendation? The answer is definitely not. You are not supposed to write the letter. You are not supposed to write the letter. Please let that sink in right now. You are not supposed to write the letter. Who's supposed to write the letter? The referees are. I understand it's really tough. It's really tricky to make the recommenders write the letter. But this is, now that you are watching this session, now you know this is the time best information that I can give to you when you are going to see your recommender for you to explain that you can, I don't know, just throw my name, Fina from Education USA. This, and what is Education USA? Oh yeah, no, this institution from the US government, to make it more legit or whatever, right? Basically, Fina is saying that when it comes to US universities, I'm not supposed to write the letter, it has to be coming from you. Okay? And then probably some of you guys gave me like a lot of excuses. Maybe the referees refuse to write it themselves despite the fact that you explain it to them. My suggestion on that, try to find other referees. And probably you'll be saying, but this recommender is, like one of the best one. But if that person doesn't want to write it for you, what does it say? This person does not actually really want to help you. Let's find other referees, okay? Basically, again, if the referees ask you to write it for them, for whatever reasons, after you explain it, or maybe you haven't explained it, you are not supposed to say yes, right? You will want to explain it nicely, of course, right? And then you can tell that, hey, I just watched the session from Education USA, and I learned that we are, as the applicants, we are not supposed to write the letter. And maybe they're giving you an excuse, but I can't speak, saya nggak bisa bahasa Inggris, gitu kan. If they're not capable in writing it in English, you can say, don't worry, I'm going to find you a sworn translator, right? So don't worry about it. And again, and it's true, like I've been asking this question to a number of the admissions committee in the US, and they are all very chill about this. And I told them, right, like, in Indonesia, we don't use English as a first language, and people can find it really hard, especially the recommenders or, the senior one, where they are not, like familiar with English. And they say, don't worry about it. They can write it in their original language, like in Bahasa, and then provide the letters in English with, like sworn translators, right? Because the way the admissions committee look at this letter is ladders, like ladders. It's not like you're submitting an academic paper, right? It's different story with essay, but this is letters of recommendation, and that's why it's called letters of recommendation. It's just like as if they are receiving a letter from someone, okay? Now, this is the scary part, and yes, I intentionally want to scare you, but for the good, okay? The admissions committee really, really take this supposedly confidential letters seriously. And I have this one story that I keep sharing with everyone every time I have this session, where in the past, when I just started joining Education USA, I still don't know about like how these letters of recommendation, you're not supposed to write the letter and everything. So back in the day, which is 5 years ago, um, there were some moments where I actually did read letters of recommendation. That was definitely something that I shouldn't have done. But then this one time, the advisee actually came to Ad America to have two documents reviewed by me, right? The essay and then the letters of recommendation. So we did the essay first. I am fully Indonesian, like through and through. I don't use English as a first language, but after I reviewed this person's essay, I moved on to the letters of recommendation, right? And imagine, as someone who is not an English native, I can like quickly say to this person, because at the time, like I thought it's just like written by the recommender, right? So then I can quickly, like when I look at the letters of recommendation, I told this person, I asked this person, you wrote this. It's more like, it's not like a question, probably just more like a statement, because I know, like I can say, you wrote this. And then the person said, yeah, I did. And then that's like when kind of like blew my mind, because at the time I know that it's not supposed to be you writing the letter, right? But then I was just like, whoa, no, this is very, very dangerous. And so after that, I keep asking to the admissions committee, right, from different universities. And this is basically what they are saying. All of them are saying the same thing. They are really take this supposedly confidential. Remember that FERPA thing that I shared with you? It's really important, right? Because they really, really take these letters really seriously. Now, if they ever found out, because imagine, I, who is not an English native, basically find that out, that it's actually being written by the same person, they could reject your application right away, no matter how amazing your essays is, no matter how you are a cum laude student or whatever, just because of this one document that you basically violate their trust, it will just go back to zero. And we don't want that. I do not want that. All right. I know that I sound like really blunt and try to like scare you, but this is just so that you understand how important this letters is. Okay. Okay, done. Now we are actually almost at the end of my presentation. I'm going to go real quick here so we have more on the Q&A session. Because actually in front of me right now is just fully presentation. I'm very like really want to take a look at the chat Zoom, because I'm pretty sure it's very, very lively in there. And I just feel like I'm talking on my own. But okay, I'm going to go real quick here. I'm going to give you like just a sample of what the letters recommendation look like. I'm actually getting this from UC Berkeley, and I believe I got this from Google. So you can also do the same if you want to take a look at it. And this is basically the old school, the way I say it, the old school type of letters of recommendation, where you still put like your either the university letterhead or the company letterhead. Now, more and more and more universities that I see that they no longer ask for this kind of letters, but there are still some where you basically need to have this kind of letters and then you scan it and then you just upload it. But there are more, more like different ways of letters of recommendation that they ask. But I'm just going to show you the old school one. So this is like, the very basic one, the letterhead, the sender's name, department, date, and everything. And this is basically the content of the letter itself. So basically the introduction would be about the person and the recommender and where the recommender actually basically knows you. And then the second and third paragraph, we call it the body paragraph. So this is kind of like similar to essay, which I'm going to talk about next week. But the body paragraphs, which is the second paragraph and third paragraph, are mostly about that's like the meat of the letter, right? Because it's the part when the recommenders really vouch for you, talk highly about you, talk positively about you. So here with the sample is about Jane, who has highly intelligent and has good analytical skills. Now, it seems like it's a lot to say, and it's actually very ideal if the recommender can also talk like this long, because we don't want to just kind of like say that Jane has highly intelligent and good analytical skills, and then basically the recommender just very general explaining what highly intelligent and good analytical skills mean, but we don't want that. What we want, what the admissions committee wants, is basically elaborate on when Jane actually did that, did show her highly intelligent and good analytical skills. So give like an example of one scene or one moment where Jane or you practice that skill. Okay, similar to the next paragraph about communication skills. I mean, a lot of people are basically saying that, oh, yeah, Nafina has good communication skills. That person has good communication skills. And then usually people just kind of like talk about like what communication skills are, which is like everyone else can also understand that. But what they want is to actually tell when I showed good communication skill in front of that recommender or something. Okay. And then the next paragraph, if the recommender wants, he or she can still talk about you probably on a personal level. So that's why, like this in this sample, the recommender is basically saying, at a personal level, Jenny is a blah blah blah. Okay, and then what happens next is but kind of like the closing part where the recommenders basically like just wrapping up talking highly about you, how you are like one of the best candidates, basically all the vouching and endorsing you. Okay, and that's it. And mine, yeah, and this is just kind of like, I'm not expecting you to read because it's so small, but I just wanted to kind of like show you the length of the recommendation, letters recommendation. It doesn't have to be exactly this long, but more or less. So, okay. And don't forget, be sure to send a thank you note because sometimes when we got what we want, we just tend to forget. All right. And then we don't want that. So be sure to send a thank you note. And then uh, this is like kind of like weird to have this slide at the end because like when I say get one of the Education USA America advisors to check your resume or CV, and because I just finished talking about letters of recommendation, some people might think, oh, Education USA America can also take a look at our letters of recommendation. But I'm just going to tell you now, we are not reviewing any kind of letters of recommendation. It's a big no for us, no special case or anything like that, right? But what we can do, what Santika and I can do, is basically check your resume or CV, the first part of the event. Okay. Good luck. And all right, so I'm going to stop share this presentation. I'm going to say hi to Santika while I am going to take a look at some of the chat. So Santika, how are we doing?
Hi, Vina. Thank you so much for your very elaborated and detailed presentation.
Thank you.
So, I had so many fun in the chat box. A lot of our participants in Zoom are asking a lot of questions. Some of them are very detailed, and I think that we got questions like, how big is the margin?
Oh, okay.
What is the picture size? And I googled them. I mean, you can basically find all of the details that we kind of shared here in Google, but we just compile them together for all of you here so that it's easier on you. And also the things that you can find, of course, in Google is when we share our experience, right, Vina? Like when you said, oh, I read letters of recommendations before, and I know that this advisee wrote that on their own. Those are the things that you cannot find online, but that's why we need you to attend this kind of events with Education USA at America. Okay, so I really encourage you guys, if you guys have any questions, like very specific, like technical and specific to that university itself or that program itself, you want to go directly to the university to check if they have specific instructions for you for your CV or resume. Because a lot of time, from my advisee's experience, is that some of the university actually ask for very detailed things in your CV or resume. If I'm not mistaken, Columbia asked for like your salary, so you have to include that. And some of other universities also said if you have like gap year, you need to explain that, write that. what you are doing during your gap year, even though you are not employed or you're not in a university or anything like that. So that's that. It's very detailed, and I want all of you to kind of like check first with the university or the department that you want to apply to before you jump into like the template that we already showed you, or the one that you find in some other universities. Even though it's still in the US, I still think that you want to refer to the application page, the details, just to make sure that you don't miss all of that, because it's so important. Okay, so for questions, we actually have, um, I think we have more Facebook viewers or watchers today. So thank you so much, guys, for watching us from Facebook and sending us your questions here. So Fina, as you can see from our questions sheets here, there are like two questions from Facebook, and I think we can answer that first, because the rest I think I already answered in the chat, but we can still talk about. So the first one is from Herdian Shah. Is there any website that can generate our CV into US CV that you mentioned above? Like in Europe, they have Europass that we just fill the form and generate into standard Europe's CV. So I actually did some research that you can actually find plenty of websites that will generate the US CV or resume for you. But as Education USA, we cannot be biased, so we cannot make any recommendations or referral to on which website that you can use. And we don't really recommend that, because then when I tried to generate some of this CV or resume, they did generate the things that you input, but there are just some small details that's just not right, like the spacing or the margins or whatever, that when you download it, it can revert to another thing. It can be, it looks right now, but when you download it into different format or file, they can just convert into another things, and you don't want that to happen and trust the machine or software too much. And what we always, yeah.
Actually, I don't. I have. This is actually, to be completely honest with you, this is my first time hearing this.
Oh, really?
I actually do not know that there is such a thing that can generate your CV into, like, I don't know, like this Europass that you're talking about. But I kind of like agree with Santika. I would say just doing it like manually. I mean, that's like how we do it with our advisee, right, Santika? I mean, what we usually do, and especially like with this event, right? I showed you like what it looks like, but I know I only showed you guys like in a couple of like seconds or minutes. But what you can do is also find the sample online, and I know Santika has shared in the past from University of Illinois that has like this one sample, and I'm sure a lot of other universities out there has their own samples as well, which it's pretty like similar from one university to another. And so that's why, like, that's when we kind of like share that sample to you guys, normally via email or something like that. And then you basically just need to, just to mimic the structure.
So yeah, the thing is, why I kind of like share just one out of so many of them is because it's like what Fina said. They are just so similar that, to the point, if you go to other universities, like what I shared in this chat box in Zoom to Sophia and other who wants to apply for the graduate schools in US, I shared the one from Harvard and the one from Cornell. If you take a look at them, they will just have some variations on what kind of category that to put in, and depending on your profile, you want to highlight different things. So if you are research heavy, then you want to highlight your research experience. But if you are like teachers, you want to highlight your teaching experience. So that's why it's going to be different for each of the person. And if you generate that from software, I wouldn't guarantee that they will know, okay, this is what we need to highlight. And if you go to Microsoft Word, because I kind of like play around a lot with the CV and resume before, you can find kind of like their templates, and you can start from there if you get so confused on the margin, the spacing, and whatever. You can start from the Microsoft Word and find the resume or CV template, because I think most of them, or not all of them, are actually the US template already. You just need to play around and make it, okay? Because some of them are fancy, with colors and design and whatever, but you want to stick to the old-fashioned one, right? Just black and white and plain, just that. So yeah, not recommended to generate anything, even though it's free. And even if it's, you have to be more suspicious if it's free. And yeah, just go to the university that you want to apply for and see if they have, like what I said, if they have specific direction, and then try to find the general template. Okay, start from there, from the scratch. All right, next question. It's also from Facebook. It's from Fajar. What affiliation means in CV or resume? What if we don't put it in our CV or resume? I think affiliation is not, from my point of view and from my experience, affiliations category is not a must. What is a must in CV and resume is education and like work experience or research experience if you're a researcher. So basically, the education and the professional aspect is a must, but like affiliations, journal publications, I don't think those are like a must unless you are applying for a very specific program that requires you to have those kind of experiences, you know.
And
Of
yeah,
course, if you have.
if I may add to that,
Mhm.
basically, you can call the category however you want. So if you want to call it affiliation, yeah, what is under affiliation? Probably like if you're joining some
Mhm.
kind of, I don't know, like clubs or anything like that, like you're
Yeah, it's like
affiliated with like that
education.
institution or something like that. But you don't have to call it affiliation exactly. Again, like there is no like one rule for that. So like I said, like Santika said, basically just education and working experience, and then below that, be creative.
Yeah. And I actually kind of do the research for you, and it says affiliations is the closest one to be kind of like equal to membership. So if you are like in any, let's say something like a club or a like national association of whatever, an association of the one that you have interest in and you belong in, as in you're a member, then you can put it in there, but otherwise sometimes it can also be placed by like community or volunteer involvement. They have kind of like similar interests. That's why it can, like what Fina said, it can be different. You can be creative in that. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Fajar. So moving on to next question. Okay, I'm going to give it to Fina on which one that she wants to talk about from the orange one, from Malinda, Dian, and Sophia. You can
The
start.
orange one. Okay, let's start with Malinda Sari Sembiring from Zoom, yeah. For the recommendation letter, should I ask someone that knows me well, but it's not related to the degree I want to take, or should it relate to what field we want to apply? That is actually a really good question. But the way I look at it, I prefer the first one because it's very common. So, for example, like in the US, where you graduated in your bachelor's degree with one degree and then one major, and then you applied for something completely different. So, for example, like MBA is very like for everyone, right? So a lot of people kind of maybe graduate from like an engineering background and then follow up working at an engineering industry, and then you decide to want to study MBA where you basically have no background in business whatsoever. So yeah, I definitely prefer the first one, someone who knows you well, although that person basically like from different degree that you want to take or major that you want to take.
Wow, I just read the chat box and I'm so happy. Congrats, Fitri. And please come by to maybe talk, have a chat with me or Fina. So maybe if you want to share your experience with us through event like this, we can invite you. And also, let's see. I think we have other questions on like how to get their CV or resume checked, and I think I will share that in the chat.
Santika, I actually would like to talk a little bit about like the very first question
Yeah, sure.
from Imraul Emaka. You answered it, but I kind of like want to share with everyone here just in case you know, like our favorite part, if you get what I mean. So basically, Imraul is asking, hi, I would like to get some review on my CV. Should I email it? Because he mentioned email, right? And then you know what I'm going to say, Santika, or how to sign up for one-on-one session. I just wanted to emphasize a little bit that because in the past, this is what happened. You guys are watching the session, right? You basically heard my presentation and everything, right? And then I said at the end, basically, you know, get to see one of us. We can review your CV. And for some people, I don't know, for some people, it seems like it's just the part that you heard from me talking for 1 hour. Why did I say that? Because we normally receive an email, not an email, some emails to our email center, and then basically kind of like, you know, introduce themselves. Hi, my name is blah blah blah. You know, thank you for giving the presentation about CV and resume. Really informative. Here I attach my CV. Please, you know, give a review. And then when we look it up, it's actually still in the Indonesian layout. Like definitely like like 100% contradict to what I basically said during my presentation. So I want to just emphasize, before you come see me or Santika, please do change your resume or your CV to the US standard first. We cannot review your resume or CV when you're still having it in the Indonesian version or the version outside the US.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think, you know, we are talking about CV and resume today, but I just want to, you know, also add that essay, your favorite part. Sometimes we also receive essay that's like, because we need to check if they answer the prompt or not. And we, you know, during your presentation, you always said, oh, you know, copy paste the instructions and like the prompt, the questions on top of your essay draft so that we can check if you have answered those or if there is any of that prompt and question. If there's no prompt, just like, oh, statement of purpose of, you know, maximum of 500 words, then that's it, right? But if there's like questions like, oh, how do our programs help you achieve your goal? Then please kind of like include that. And sometimes we just have this long essay to us and there's no prompt or whatever. So it's a bit, we need the details in order to help you. So that's that. So yeah, I'm going to type the email, my email address in the chat box in Zoom. But if you guys are watching from other platforms, not in Zoom, of course you cannot access the chat box. So my email is ssalim@educationusa.org. Send us your CV. Send me actually your CV or resume that's already in the US template and in Word document.
Yeah, and just in case Santika has not shared this with you, but Santika is actually, compared to me, when it comes to resume and CV review session, you definitely probably want to go to Santika. And Santika, I don't know if you actually read in the chat, but there is one of your advisees who is basically saying that you reviewed her CV
right?
last month, and then now she got accepted to SIPA Columbia. So, and I actually have the last couple of days, some of my advisees are kind of like sharing their CVs with me, and then I keep mentioning Santika's name. It's just because that when you have your CV reviewed by Santika, Santika will definitely like pay every single detail on what you said in there. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm not really doing that. for me, for me with CV, I pay attention to the structure. I mean, Santika does that as well. So Santika's kind of like do extra when it comes to CV.
Yeah, because
and I just need to make sure that Santika, you're okay with doing this, right? And it seems like you love doing this. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna give my advice to you. It's just that I am more on like an essay. When it comes to detailed, I'm more like on an
Yeah.
essay. I mean, both of us
Okay.
are doing the same thing normally, but when it comes to CV, I kind of like give my advisors like a heads up by telling them that I'm not going to read like every detail on what you write in the document. But if you want and you have some time and want, please go to Santika, to have your CV reviewed very detailed. But yeah, I'm more on like the essay. So and I told Santika as well, like, feel free to like share, yeah, some of her advices for essay to me, because again, guys, I love reading essays. I love reviewing essays. And so yeah, don't forget next week.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is, I think we do both, but we just enjoy things. So, I enjoy reading stories better than me, and I like to, nitpick on small details, and that's where it comes in handy when it's on CV and resume. I can tell if you have extra spacing. I don't know why, but yeah, I do that. So yeah, send me your CV or resume. That's already in the US template. The email is salim@educationusa.org. If you have our center email, you can also send it there, and Fina and I are going to reply from the center email as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so move on to the next question. I think we have one question, although it's not related to CV or resume.
Yeah, which is totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, from Irma in YouTube. I hope you're still watching. Can we use PTE academic test for substitute IELTS or TOEFL? Um, it really depends. I think no, right, Fina? PTE is a different level than IELTS or TOEFL IBT. But yeah, I just want you to double check that on the website, university
Mm-hmm.
website.
Yeah, no, so let me just clarify just a little bit. So PTE is kind of like the new kids on the block, we want to say that, because it's kind of like Duolingo, if you guys
Yeah.
are familiar with it. So, like the one that is really common is, of course, is always TOEFL and IELTS. But now PTE is kind of like joining in as well, but not all universities will accept PTE yet. So the answer to your question is definitely check to the universities that you're going to apply, making sure that when they say, list of the requirements, and then they talk about, like, the English standardized test, there are some universities that allow all this new gamers, right, all this newcomers, such as like the PTE and Duolingo. So they say, submit IELTS slash TOEFL slash Duolingo slash PTE. So as long as they're saying PTE, then that means you can submit PTE. But if they don't mention anything about PTE on their website, it means that they are not accepting PTE yet, and then you want to do just like TOEFL or IELTS.
All right. I hope that helps. So yeah, again, TOEFL IBT ya, bukan yang lain, because TOEFL have different types as well. I just want to clarify that TOEFL IBT is kind of like 100% accepted by the US universities, so that's the safest one. But of course, IELTS and DET and PTE, are gaining more popularities and being more accepted in more universities in the United States. So you want to double check on the requirements. Usually they will just list the whole thing, like TOEFL or IELTS or this or that. Okay, so just check on that. And move to the next question. Is there any WhatsApp number in America that we can consult about all of this, anything related to scholarship in the United States? So, this is fun. We do share our WhatsApp number, but that's very, very rare occasion, right, Vina?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
here's the thing. So technically, when you come to America, there is no phone number whatsoever. Even like before, like something that is not related to Education USA, people sometimes want to make events with America, and then is there anyone that I can call or something like
yeah,
that? The answer is no. So there is no phone number with America, and it's also applicable to us with Education USA. And I think because at least for me, the way I look at it, we when we were in America, we want everyone to kind of like come to America, and it's just that because America is, I would say that Education USA in America is the most comprehensive, like has the most comprehensive services of Education USA. And I've like always hoping one day there are three advisors in America, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna happen. But it's just that just because we are so comprehensive and the two of us are can be very overwhelmed with
Very
just
much.
so many students that we need to deal with, not just via email, but like in person. Again, like when we were at America, and then now even like when we were in Zoom, we just like our times because we just this is connected with on why we don't share our number, because the number one service that people really use is the resume and CV and essay. And the thing
Okay.
with essay takes time. So with one person, we can have what, like Santika, like a minimum of 30 minutes to like an hour ish. I have like one time when I spent like an hour and a half only like assisting with one person on essay alone. But then on a yearly basis, I don't know, we have to pull up, and I would love to show off these numbers, but we met with like hundreds, and we're talking about like hundreds, not like 100 or 200. I think this is like on top of like more than 500 people in a year, only the two of us. So we kind of like refuse to and we kind of like have the power to say no for a phone number. Even like when I shared my business card, it's just really funny because people like they start to realize, right? Like, oh, there's no phone number, because yeah, we don't share phone number. We check emails on a daily basis, except on my day off. But we check emails, and we actually really do reply to emails. I know, like in Indonesia, when it comes to emails, people are like, oh, maybe you're not like going to reply, but we do actually reply to emails. Just give us like, I don't know, like three days, 4 days probably max. We're going to get back to you. However, and actually like love. So okay, so with Santika is not sharing her WhatsApp, and I actually really respect that choice, because in the beginning, like I don't share my WhatsApp number as well. But then we had this conversation yesterday
Yeah.
when I kind of like like shared like this one screenshot, silly screenshot of my advices to Santika, and then Santika was just like, "Oh wait, so you're sharing your phone number to your advices now?" So I actually do share my phone number. I don't have like two different phones or anything. I only have like one phone. So my personal phone number is actually for everything. And actually, I do share my phone number to some of my advisees, but for specific advice. So, for example, like if you have done advising with me for a couple of times, and a couple of times is not like 2 times or 3 times, but we're talking about like more than 10 times.
Okay, guys. It's so
So
fun.
like right now on my WhatsApp, yeah. So like right now on my WhatsApp, there are actually a lot of my advices, but those are my advises who have been with me, sharing their updates, and we work together on their application for more than like 10 times. Then yes, I do share my phone number. So Imelda, if you want me to share my phone number to you, you're an advisor.
You can
But yeah,
follow
no. Just to share with you, yeah, we don't do advising. Even like with me sharing my phone number, I
Yeah.
rarely do advising via WhatsApp. It's
It's
more
just
like for my yes, it's for like for my advices to kind of like, hey Fina, are you gonna be in Zoom today? Or hey Fina, how many people do you have right now in line in Zoom? So I do sometimes kind of like answer some questions, but on technical, or if it's something that is like require more time for me to answer it, I prefer to just either, yeah, no, just not either, just doing it like in Zoom, just like talk.
yeah, at the beginning, I actually shared my WhatsApp number so openly to everyone who came into Ad America for Education USA. And I just got so overwhelmed. And Pina said, no, 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 you don't have to do that. And
Yeah.
it turns out that she only shared her number to advisee who have been very much, regular, and maybe needs, more and more sessions with her. But yeah, that's the thing. If you come to Ad America and then you are from outside of Jakarta, you put so much effort to come to Ad. And I think it's just fair that I can share my WhatsApp number so that he or she can ask me more questions through WhatsApp, because the person or the advisee cannot come into America all the time because they are from outside of Jakarta. And that's how I kind of like make the priorities. But I do give my WhatsApp number also to I it's case by case, just like US universities. We are just immersing all of this the system that they do. It's case by case. I actually mentioned in the Zoom chat box. It's if you have questions like letter of recommendations, if you have graduated, let's say 10 years before, 10 years, or past professors have been retired or whatever, they cannot give you the letter anymore, and then you can email them to the admission office or the department office, like ask them what should I do with this. And in a case by case problem like that, they can just tell you, okay, then give us two in from the same aspect, from your professional or work aspect. So it's really case by case. And like what Fina explained, even if you've met her for so many times, but if she don't feel the need for you to have her WhatsApp number, then you won't need it. That's how we see things are. And we do reply our emails on a daily basis, and don't worry about that. If you email us today and we didn't get back to you tomorrow, the chances are we have so many emails to reply. So if you send us another email, then it will be on top, and that will also take another time to to be replied, because I reply it from the bottom, like the first come first serve basis. That's how we do it. So yeah, just an FYI. All right, so let's move to the next question. I think this one is scholarship related, Vina. It's from Irma in Zoom. Can I apply for other scholarship offered by USMC while I'm still doing the fellowship there? So you need to check with the scholarship and fellowship directly, because they have different policies, and we don't have that kind of like with us, because it's a separate institutions per se. So yeah, you want to check that and make sure that they allow you or they don't allow you to do that. From the Zulman in Zoom, can I make my CV by directly editing from the template, or it's better to rewrite based on that template? I got the template from the Harvard one. So like I said, it depends on your needs and what you want to highlight. You can just replace the part, like the template part is basically the education and the professional experience or work experience. But if you have research experience and teaching experience, then that's where you want to add that. So it's really depending what you need to highlight, and depends on your experience. Okay, I cannot say yes.
Yeah, and I actually really like because he who asked this question? He mentioned Harvard.
Yeah.
And I actually like how Harvard actually from either even like from different departments.
Mhm.
It's quite common for them to have their own template. I forgot like what this one department. But like in the past, I had like this one advisee. And Harvard is asking a mixture of resume and CV. And I was like, what? I've never heard about that. But then it's really nice because Harvard has a template. So they have like their own, like their own way of looking at the resume or CV. So technically, if it's in the if it's in the Microsoft Word where Harvard shared the template, and then if it's easy for you to just do it directly from there, that's fine. But it's up to you. It's up to you. Yeah.
Yep. So I think we have one last question from Zoom from Putri. And we are what? I think we still have time, Vina?
Yes,
Or
we are until 8:30. Yeah.
yeah. So from Putri, and usually how many university did the advisee apply for? Is it 5 or maybe over? This is interesting. So we kind of recommend at least 2 universities in each of different categories. So we have 3 categories: the Dream University, Target, and Safety University. What differentiate them is their what do you call that? The acceptance, the percentage of
The acceptance rate.
yeah, acceptance rate is different. So yeah, that's that. And usually we recommend at least two in each of that. So if you times that to three, that's six. But not everyone can apply for six universities because if you calculate or you add your budget into it, you need to pay for what, six of the university admission,
Mm-hmm.
sorry,
Mm-hmm.
application fee. So yeah, it's not for everyone, but if you can apply as much as you can, even maybe more than six if you can.
Yeah.
But I would say depends on where, what level of studies that you are applying for, and if you are applying for LPDP or other scholarship, because that's
Yeah, yeah. If I might add to that, so well, normally, like in the past, um, like what Santika said, we normally like advise you to do like six with three different categories. Like the dream schools, the target schools, and the safety schools. We still kind of like do that to high school students who wants to study like bachelor's degree in the U.S. because most of the time, if not all the time, they are on self funding. But when it comes to like master's degree, the majority of us rely on scholarships, right? And so when it comes to scholarship, the two that comes up is Fulbright and or LPDP. So with Fulbright, it's a different thing because technically you want to apply for Fulbright first, and then they will technically, like give you some kind of like list of universities that you want to apply to. Although you can also do like direct application based on the universities that you want to go to, just as long as they kind of give the green light for you to do that. But with LPDP, it's a different story, right? Because LPDP also depending on what kind of awardees you are. Are you LPDP regular or are you LPDP apa afirmasi, and then afirmasi is kind of like break it down into like others like PNS and stuff like that, or maybe you are LPDP BIT. But like with LPDP regular, right? The majority of our advisors, or maybe you guys who are watching the session, even if you're applying for LPDP, I'm probably guessing that you are going to be in the LPDP regular section, where basically you guys don't have like a lot of choices. Right. When you look at the list of the US universities that they put on their website, it's kind of like the hardcore universities, um, or we call it like the highly selective universities. And so I kind of like it's not really applicable to a lot of my advisees for me to say apply to for dream schools, to target schools, to safety schools. So it's more like my question would be my first few question would be how are you going to fund your study, just so that I get a better idea. Okay, if it's with LPDP, so that means you need to up your game, right? Because basically you need to apply to these hardcore universities, and that's kind of like basically what most of our advisees are applying to, right, Santika? Like the majority of our advisees kind of like dream high, like you guys,
dream
who you
high.
guys are watching this. I'm pretty sure you guys are aiming for Harvard, Columbia, Stanford, Yale, and all that. And if you have not thought about it, I encourage you to think about those schools as well, especially if you're relying on LPDP. But it's kind of like different for our advisees who are in the STEM, like hardcore science. Hardcore science is nice because there are so much funding, so many fundings available, and you don't have to rely only on the highly selective universities, right? So, for example, like Tita, well, I mean, Tita graduated from Stanford. It's like really hard to get in, but Tita has like a really hardcore science background, and then look where he ended up. He ended up with Stanford with full scholarship from the universities, full funding, right, as a assistantship position. So we're going to hear more about that if you want to know more about like scholarship and all that. But yeah, like normally
Yeah,
people are applying to like yeah 2, 3, 4 schools because of
yeah.
it's you need to pay for like the
Mm-hmm.
apa?
The application fee. Even though this is funny, actually, like what I always advocate, it's case by case, and US universities is quite holistic. So if you have time and you have the effort, you have the willingness to find waiver. So the way to get waiver itu kayak jadi kamu nggak usah bayar. So this term is for application fee waiver. So if you can, introduce yourself, to the admission officer and the one that you want to apply to, and tell them that is it possible to waive your application fee and whatever. If they can waive it, then you don't have to pay for your application fee, and you can, use that budget to apply for other universities that you also want to apply to, without like exceeding your whole budget and whatever. So that's that. Another tip for you to try to find for application fee waiver. And especially during this pandemic, a lot of waiver is happening. They waive the GRE, they waive like GMAT, some of them even waive. So this is also case by case. One of my advisee got her TOEFL IBT or IELTS English proficiency test waived.
Whoa, really?
Very rare, because we are, and she graduated from Indonesian university, which is so rare, right? Because the main qualification for the English proficiency test to be waived is that you graduated from English speaking country, university in any English speaking country. So Indonesia is not English speaking country. It's not our primary language, and so if you graduate from Indonesia, proficiency waiver. But she attended Indonesian university with international curriculum. I think so. All of them are in English, so maybe that's another qualifications that they say yes to. So yeah, you can totally consult that to the admission office directly, because they make exceptions. If you can, explain to them and kind of like, make it clear that what you need from them. So that's that. And yeah, we got another questions coming in. Woohoo! Yeah, I hope that helps to answer the question. And also, let's see.
We have a long one here from Shania.
Oh yeah.
Basically, Shania, I just read it. So basically, Shania is currently a bachelor's degree fourth year student in Shanghai University. Wants to study masters for fall 2021. Although, Shania, have you checked the universities, and if are they still open for applicants? Because it's kind of like late, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the universities already closed for fall 2021. But Shania is also or spring 2022, which is very ideal at this point in time. But Shania is basically asking, is it possible to come by to Adamerica this time? I'm still clueless about the application process. So if Shania, if you're here from the beginning, I mentioned about like step one, research your options. So we are going to have like step one session with you. Unfortunately, Adamerica is still not open for public, and we don't know when we will open for public, but we will definitely let you know when we do that. So at this point, all of the advising sessions are conducted via Zoom, and it depends on your questions. Sometimes people are asking a very straightforward questions where it's kind of like not too long for us to answer, and we are able to do that via email. But if I can definitely like guess with Shania here, that I think it would be ideal if we have a one-on-one session via Zoom, either with Santika or myself. So I don't know, Santika, if you have mentioned about like our shift in chat. So I think, like I said earlier, right, we are available every day. So Santika is doing the first shift. So from 1 until 5 will be conducted by Santika any day.
Right.
And then from 5 until 9, that would be me. But it's always tricky because sometimes I'm doing events like in the evening. So that means I'm not currently like available for advising sessions. So I just like, for example, right? Like I have like a lot of people on my WhatsApp, on a in a panic mode because their deadlines are coming soon, and then they really want me to take a look at their essays. And I said, I'm not available this week because we have 3 events in a row. And so this is probably something that I also want to share with you guys, especially if you guys are here for 2022. Please keep doing that. You are already do like a really good job by wanting to study in the US for fall 2022, but already joining our events now very early in the day. We just started like, this is like still January 2021. Because like seriously guys, because now more and more and more people heard about Education USA at America, and then more and more people actually want to come see us. And that's basically like the whole point. Like the whole point of me being here is basically to tell people we are here and we are happy to
Yeah.
help. We love assisting you guys, but then it will be also sad for us when you guys are coming very late and very close to the deadline. I don't know like how many people that we see this Santika, probably like more than five, where people have their deadline in the next coming of days, or maybe like next week, and then now they are very panicked because I can't come read their essays because I only read essays when you are being present,
Mhm.
right? Like the kind of services that we provide, it's not like you just simply share your essays and then we read it offline and then we give comments and then you
Mhm.
read it because this is a free service, right? So we love like when we do read your essays, we want you to be present as well. But then here, something like this happens, right? Like we are conducting events, so Santika is not available, I'm not available, no one is in the Zoom room, and then your deadline is on, I don't know, Monday. So we definitely want to avoid that. So
Yeah.
so
And
yeah, for Shania, I really encourage you to
yeah,
see
to
us
come to
in Zoom.
as early as possible. So we really hate to turn down advices because we definitely love what we are doing here, even though we are always kind of busy the whole year. Because um, I think we got the question on, when is the cutoff for essay review? But then Vina said it's the whole year. So we have the whole year nonstop for essay review. There's no cutoff. There's no like, okay, so January we don't do essay review. February we don't do CV or resume review. No. So we do it, the whole year. So that's why we love that you come in early. Because if you don't have enough time for us to give you feedback as well because of the waiting line and whatever, sometimes we have days off, right? Then we feel bad too. But if you come to us like less than a week, and then if your essay, let's say if your essay is not that good, then there's not much that we can do, which, it makes us have this mixed feeling that we want to help you really badly, but if we give you too much input, then it will make you go panic mode and then discourage you in some way. So we don't want to do that at all. All right. So that's why I kind of like turned down a few because of the deadline is just 1 or 2 days or 3 days away. So I'm like, I cannot do that. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I hope you understand.
I'm sorry, I was like cut off earlier. But for me, like if I have like advices and then their deadline is like in 2 days, I would be like, "Are you sure? Like, are you sure you want me to read it?" Because I don't know with Santika. Santika, I feel like when she does the review, she's really like very nice and everything. But for me, like I'm just trying to be honest. So when I review essays and I see that this is not, not there yet, I will say it. So
Yeah, I actually tried really hard for, I think I learned it the hard way. I accepted an advisee who came to me 2 days before the deadline for an essay review. I think I told you like last month, yeah, Fina, yeah.
yeah,
Or November, I forgot. But yeah, I said yes. And I actually asked the question, if I give you a review, like with, let's say, I don't know how much input that I want to give, depending on your essay. But let's say if there's a lot of input, will you be able to make a revision? And the advice is such a confident person, and he just said, yeah, I'm not doing any work right now, so I'm just so focused on my application. I will be able to make revision without any problem tonight. I will get it done, and so I said, okay, let's do advising, and give him the review for the essay. And turns out, I think there are quiet a lot of things that I said, this can be better, this and that needs to be changed and whatever. And then days passed by, the deadline has passed, and he came back to me saying, Sandika, I'm really sorry I didn't make the revision because it's just so overwhelming for me. to make the revision. So I just submitted whatever I have before I give, ask from your for your input. And I was like, I don't want that to happen again, because then I wasted, and the advice
Yeah,
also
yeah,
wasted an
yeah,
hour or so time just for that. And
yeah.
I think it's just, we can use that time. I mean, for me, I can use that time for other advisee, and the advisee can also use that time maybe to review the whole application, not to just panic, whatever. So yeah, it's not working, both sides. It's not just me. It's also for the advisee. Okay. So yeah, we have other questions here. Let's see. I think America also provide. Well, sorry. Does Ad America also advise for those people who want to do medical residency in the United States, or only for master PhD degree? The question is from Kelly on Facebook. I hope you're still watching.
Mhm.
Fina, can you help me answer this?
Yeah, the answer is no. I mean, it's different from one center to another. You may definitely want to check other centers because um, I know there are some other education access centers that are familiar with like medical residency. The reasons why I say no to Ed America is just because I have not received and I did not receive any training on information about medical residency, so I'm not like familiar with it. And we prefer to just like focus on masters or PhD at this point. So we are sorry about that.
All right. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
But you can definitely, I think for, something that specific, you know what you want to do, you can try, because I've seen a lot in the university website in United States that they have this like advisor tabs or section. Then maybe you can
Yeah.
try to ask that part. If you cannot find it from Education USA, maybe you can find it from the university. All right.
And I mean,
Next
yeah, I
question.
mean, we
Yeah.
actually did we actually did events on medical residency in the past. We invited like two different institutions, but it's just that we didn't. There were only like two people joining the event. So after that, we no longer provide those kind of like events or services where we assist someone with like medical residency. So yeah, we're sorry
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm. And next question is from, let's see, in YouTube. Wow, we have a lot
Nice.
of, viewers from other platform. I'm so happy. It's from Irma. In writing CV or resume, is it better to make them compact and short, or detailed and complete so they almost reach the page or word limit? Hmm. Interesting. So for CV and resume, I think we kind of use bullet points, and that means it should be kind of short. I mean, like, one sentence, because if you have more than one line sentence for bullet point, usually it's also like two lines up, not going to three line at all. So yeah, you need to be. I like to say. Um, Impactful and short, as short as possible, but also showing your impact and your achievement in that one bullet point, in each of that bullet point. So yeah, that's that. But if it's like, let's say, resume, and you only have one page, but resume is maximum of 2 pages, then you don't have to, write a lot of things just to achieve 2 pages for that. I don't see the point. Okay. All right, I hope that answers your question, and we move on to Nia. Okay, I already answered that in the chat box, Nia, and then from Nurul, hi Santika, Fina, do you have a dedicated session to research potential school or major? Wow.
Yeah, I actually just
Yeah, I
asked
get
Nurul
that.
back. Yeah, I just asked Nurul back in the chat, what major do you hope to see us to cover?
Mhm.
So in the past, we normally do cover some majors, but only for majors that kind of like, a lot of Indonesians are aiming for that. So for example, like MBA, public administration type of field, international affairs, public policy, MPA, those type of program, public health. are very popular as well. We really want to do like science, but then we can't just do like one science. Like I
Exactly.
prefer to break it down into like what kind of science that people actually want to do. Computer science, chemical engineering, anything. So usually it kind of like depends on how many requests that we've been receiving. So for example, I know like late last year, someone recommends me to do some kind of like oil and gas, and I would love to actually do that because a lot of my advisees are kind of like do that kind of like program and stuff. But we are still cooking that program. But yeah, Nurul, if you can share what kind of program that you want us to see, and if you can kind of like convince us that there are actually a lot of us want to study this, then I will be,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll make that. It's just that with Santika and I, when we are creating events, we're not just like looking for, like, we want like the quality and the quantity. So we want the quality of the events that is like so good, because we are not just like making the event, giving presentation and everything, but we're really going to try to find like one of the best speakers. But then at the same time, we also want a lot of audience. Like if we make one event but only, I don't know, like 10 people watching, for us it's kind of like point. So yeah.
Yeah, and it actually takes a lot of effort to make just one event, especially sharing session, because then we have to find the speaker, and then all of our Ad America team who's working behind the scene is also helping us to make this, really great and nice event, even though it's online. So we want to give like our best, regardless of, you know, just make it and then see how it goes and whatever. But yeah, we do our best to kind of like give the best quality and reach as much people as possible who have the same interest, for greater interest. But yeah, we also, aside from that, we also use our past events a lot, Yavina.
Yep.
I just answered one email from, I think, new advisee. So he or she asked about Fulbright, and I give the link to rewatch our session with two Fulbrighters last year.
Yep.
So yeah, we kind of use our past events a lot. So that's why, making great ones are really important. And also, yeah, I think it's just that we can share it again and again. So why not make the best ones? I hope that answers the question.
Mhm. So we
Uh,
have two more questions, and probably let's wrap it up after that, Santika, because we are very close. Well, technically we should close it, but I'll go real quick from Rana. Kak,
mhm.
if the recommendation letter come from the professor, used to be my research partner of the university that we want to apply, will it boost our application and the acceptance rate? Well, it's really hard, Rana, to just say it will boost your application, but my answer to you is that would be great if that particular professor can write one for you. But in terms of like boost your application, or having like higher acceptance rate, it really depends on some of your other documents, because like I said in the presentation, that they review your application holistically. So if you have like a really strong letters of recommendation, but then your essays is not convincing enough, your resume is not that stellar and everything, then it kind of like defeat the whole thing. So we want to balance everything out. Okay, so hopefully that helps. And then from Sophia, Kak, perlu nggak naruh pengalaman riset kita dari S1 sampai S2, atau hanya S2 aja buat apply PhD? It really depends ya. I mean, kayak if you already have like, if you only put your S2 experience and publications and all that to your CV, and you end up with like 4 pages, let's say, maybe it's nice if you're not putting like anything else in there, because then that's going to overwhelm like the admissions committee. But then if you have like, I don't know, like 2 pages on your CV, and then you feel like I can go more,
Yeah.
so I will definitely like let you be the judge. And again, it's really, again, like there's no like specific rules on what to put in the CV.
For me, I want to add just a bit for Sofia. That will depends on how relevant your research in, yang S1 dan yang both S1 dan S2 buat PhD yang mau kamu daftarkan. If it's really relevant, like the topic research is just, very similar, or, you can see where it's going, it's going to the same direction, then you want to include that. regardless of it's in your undergrad or in your master degree. Okay. I hope that helps. But again, for PhD, I think we missed one very important aspect is that you try to connect with the professor first, the one that is potentially going to be your advisor. Apa sih? Pembimbing ya kalau di Indonesia ya. So yeah, you want to try to connect with the professor first and see if they have the same interest as you. And later on, you can try to ask him or her, like, if you have interest to see my CV and resume so that you can know, my research in the past, pernah ngerjain apa aja and everything like that. Then he or she can, judge that. Jadi kamu nggak usah pusing-pusing banget kayak, oh ini masukin apa enggak ya gitu. Usually for PhD, it's going to be CV ya, because then they kind of want to know whatever things that you have been doing. Di crop out biasanya. Cuman balik lagi, different professor, different department will have different requirements. So you want to check that. Okay. I hope that helps answering everyone. If you have further questions, don't hesitate to email or find us in the Zoom meeting room. I will copy paste it again in the chat box. But if you're watching from other platform, I'm just going to read it to you. Our email is jakarta.atamerica@educationusa.org, and our Zoom meeting ID is 276-124-396. Okay? All right, I'll give it back to Fina.
All right, thank you guys so much. Just wanted to say really thank you. Some people in the chat kind of like give some kind of suggestions on what we should cover, like MBA, agriculture, environmental. Stay tuned to our events. Very excited for 2021. So we're definitely going to have a lot of events this year. I will definitely see you guys again tomorrow. Please join the session tomorrow. And thank you guys again so much for listening to my presentation and my discussion with Santika and with you guys as well. So I will give it back to James.
Thank you so much, Fina and Santika, for such an informative session. Earlier in the event, we asked our audience members a question. True or false, a Stanford student has won a medal at every Olympics since 1908? And the correct answer to that is true. Not the same student every year, obviously. Still, this is a remarkably impressive feat for the university and its athletes. Unfortunately, no one was able to get the correct answer on our social media, but thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chance for a shout out from us. Now, you may be wondering, how could I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? It's very easy. All you need to do is go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select Create a Program, and click Collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly updates. That wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at @ATAmerica for all our fun contents, event updates, and so much more. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is James, and I'll see you all next time at the next At America episode. Bye.